Hey, welcome to my channel. My name's Panache and I'm really happy to have you here. If it is your first time here, baby, welcome to the party. This is where it's at. This is where we at. Join the conversation. I appreciate you. And if it is not your first time and you've watched a couple of the other videos, I'm glad you joined us again. I really do appreciate you. I love you. Keep joining us in the combos and let's see where this goes. So yes, let's jump straight in. Last week we spoke about relationships, toxic relationships, healthy relationships, and having like a sense of worth. And that sort of inspired what I was going to speak about today. So today I wanted to speak on hurt people, so get your healing. I'm going to say that again. Hurt people, so get your healing. You know, it's very easy to sit and criticize toxicity or to criticize the opposite sex, and, you know, criticizing people that come into relationships, and, you know, saying, you know, there's the famous phrase, men are trash, women are trash, because people have had negative experiences. But sometimes, you know, there's also another phrase, which is you are what you attract. So at times, if you find yourself going with this statement, if you find yourself constantly attracting toxic people, that might be a slight hint to you to say that you yourself are also toxic or have certain toxic traits or toxic tendencies. They may not display themselves necessarily in the same way as your partner displays to you, but there's something toxic or some wound, something that needs healing that is within you that finds itself attracted then to another person with a similar wound. Obviously, I'm speaking on if you are finding yourself in repetitive cycles of different bodies, same spirit type approach. Like it's a different person each time, but it's like the same exact person, the same essence. That's when you have to then self-reflect and introspect. I think, especially now, I think, you know, there's a lot of conversations about therapy and the importance of therapy. And I know that quite a few people are against therapy or think like, oh, it's not that deep, or it's not, you know, obviously therapy, it's not necessarily for everyone, but I'm not against it either. Like, if that's not how you heal, how you communicate, how you deal with things, fine. But I always say to people, at least try it. Try it first, see if it's for you, and if it's not, fine. But I do think that a lot of us really struggle with dealing with deep issues, deep wounds. And instead of dealing with them, we just sort of carry them, and then we end up putting these back on other people. You know, for example, if you've been in a relationship before where you were betrayed, whether that's you were cheated on or you were just betrayed in other ways, financially, you know, maybe they stole from you, whatever the situation may be, you were betrayed by somebody you loved and trusted. That creates a wound of betrayal, a wound of rejection, a wound of anger and bitterness. If you don't address those emotions, if you don't deal with that pain and that betrayal and that hurt, you're going to carry that into your next relationship. You know, that's when you find yourself, you know, having an amazing guy, but, you know, we spoke about this last time as well, I think, self-sabotaging. You've got an amazing guy now, but because of betrayal historically, you're now pressing him and, you know, asking, oh, let me check your phone, where have you been, who have you been with, etc. And if it is someone that is honest, someone that is genuine, and someone that has never given you a reason to not trust them, this can become overbearing. And especially when dealing with someone that's healthy and healed, they now see you as toxic. And even from the guy's perspective, same thing. If a guy has been cheated on before, whatever else, he needs to get healing from that. And you need to find what's the best way for you to get healed. I think one thing that's really important is having a lot of time for self-reflection. I think we live in a time and in a generation where there's so much noise, notifications on phones every 2 minutes. You know, outside there's cars everywhere, there's TV and Netflix, and there's just so much going on constantly, everything is on. And with all this noise, sometimes I think it really takes us away from having that alone time to just sit and reflect and think. you know, even that time to just assess. Because sometimes we can tell ourselves like, nah, like we're good, we're cool. You know, that's something I used to do a lot. Like, I never used to deal with or address my emotions directly. Sorry, I kicked my camera. I never used to deal with my emotions directly or address them directly. I just sort of used to just, something would happen. And instead of me to like cry about it or be sad or whatever, I'll just kind of like, just keep it pushing, keep it moving. And I ended up really like adapting an extremely unhealthy coping mechanism, which was like shopping. Retail therapy. And it became a bit ridiculous because it's like you end up spending so much money, first of all. Secondly, you buy a whole bunch of stuff you probably don't need. Like, I had so many, at one point in my life, I had so many handbags and so many heels. It just didn't make sense. Like, it didn't make sense. And I, you know, I love me some handbags and heels and clothes and all that cute stuff. But yeah, it was getting a bit out of hand, you know. Even at one point, like, my mom was like, got a lot of stuff. And I was just like, what do you mean? But for me, that was like my coping mechanism. It was like, well, someone's acted crazy, let me go and get a bag. And I would fully just like move on. But the thing is, one way I always describe undealt with, pain that hasn't been dealt with, unresolved, goodness gracious, that's the word I wanted. I always describe unresolved pain as like, imagine every time someone does something, so they've stabbed you, right? And someone's betrayed you, someone's lied to you, let you down, whatever. They've stabbed you, twisted it at times, jiggled it about, and then pulled it, right? So now you've got a wound. What a lot of us do is we keep it pushing. We just keep it going. Sometimes we don't even cover up the wound. We just let it bleed out until it eventually scabs over itself naturally. Or sometimes we put a plaster on it. So the whole letting it bleed out until it scabs over naturally, that's the approach of like, just not dealing with it. Never like what I was doing, where you just don't deal with it. Like I just keep pushing. I never addressed it, never thought about it, never, you know, never dwelt on it, nothing. I was just like, it is what it is, keep it stepping. That's how I used to deal with life letdowns and things like that happening. It was just like, keep it pushing, keep it moving. And you know, some people might go through a situation, hurt, cry. You know, sometimes people talk about, oh, I'm gonna cry it out, and you know, they'll do something, and that's the whole sticking a plaster over it, right? And where the problem comes in now is that if you have been cut by some manky knife that someone's picked up somewhere, and you're gonna just let it air out naturally and bleed out, whatever, more times, highly likely you're gonna get infection. It's gonna scab over, and underneath it's gonna get an infection. And when a wound gets infected, it becomes more painful, and then the infection spreads, etc., and then it's like chaotic, and you could die or lose a limb. You know, like basically, it's not good. It's gonna get an infection, and it's gonna get worse. And even when you just put plaster over it, it's the same thing. You haven't cleaned it. You haven't like, you know, put all the alcohol in or whatever it is. You haven't cleaned it. You've just stuck something on top. That's again, you haven't cleaned it out. You haven't used antiseptics, so it's gonna it's gonna get infected. When you have an infected wound, it causes a lot more pain. That's when now you see that you think you dealt with something. So when you put the plaster on, when you cried about it in your room that time and said, oh, it is what it is, listen to a couple sad songs, all you did was put a plaster over it. But now you get triggered by certain things. Now you find yourself struggling to navigate a healthy person because you yourself are not healthy, you're in pain. You now get triggered the one time that your partner, their phone dies because they didn't charge it, and now you're crazy, you're acting crazy. No, now you get given the label crazy, or they're crazy, they're irrational, they're moving mad, as they say. And these titles and labels come because it shows that the wound is infected. You never dealt with the wound. It's still there, and the pain is spreading. And when you're in pain, you're not going to be pleasant. Like, not a lot of people are pleasant when they're in pain. I'm yet to meet someone that's pleasant in pain, you know. We see all these stories, and, you know, I think, you know, we've seen the videos, we hear the stories, you know, we hear about women in labor and how they're in so much pain. Sometimes they're swearing, sometimes they're like dragging the doctor by like, you know, his shirt, like grabbing him, and you know, like it seems mental. And it's kind of like, even a simple one that we can all relate to, you stub your toe, you like, you know, sometimes you literally have to just breathe, or like, you know, and it's like you're in so much pain in that moment. It's difficult to be pleasant. So when you have a lot of unresolved emotional scars and emotional wounds that you're just leaving to fester and grow. And the thing is, you've got this wound and then you're going to move on, get into another relationship. But because you're in pain, you're not being the most pleasant to your new relationship, which is also going to introduce further toxicity in the relationship. Thus, this person is also going to hurt you in some way, shape or form. And then there's another wound and then another wound. And then you're just accumulating all this pain. And now you're just this bitter, unapproachable person. And it's chaotic. And you know, I think a lot of times people really downplay the effects of heartbreak. Like, I always say something is major if it's like, especially when it's specifically called out in the Bible. You know, in the Word of God, it tells us that Jesus came to heal the brokenhearted. Like, God's so important to mention and address that there are some people whose hearts are broken. Like, heartbreak is that deep that it's also part and parcel of the reason why Jesus had to die on the cross, to heal the brokenhearted. Which means God sees it and understands that this is a major thing. It's a major pain. It's something that can have such a massive impact on your life. And I think we live in a society that tries to desensitize us and make us feel nothing and act like, you know, love isn't really real, or it's some like social construct from the 80s or whatever. You know, like there's all these theories and things, and it's like people just want these like quick relationships and just move on, catch lights, not feelings, etc. And it's like, guys, love is a beautiful thing. Love is actually a beautiful thing. Like even if we remove the romantic aspect of it, love is a beautiful thing. Have you ever had a friend that loves you, or a parent, or a sibling, or a family member, someone that they call you just to check that you're okay? They just want to know you're good. You know, someone that loves you is someone that makes sure that you don't miss out. You also have someone that wants to make sure that you understand your thought of, someone that makes sure that they know you so well. If they see a certain thing, they're going to be like, oh, so-and-so likes this, let me get them. You know, like someone that will just buy you oranges because they know you like oranges. Someone that makes your cup of tea in the winter. Like, it doesn't always have to be romantic. Because I think sometimes when we talk about relationships, because again of so many deep wounds that people have experienced from relationships, I feel like people shut down when it comes to the topic of love. A lot of people shut down, and it's such a shame because love conquers all things. Like, love overcomes everything. You know, like we hear again, there's other stories and things that talk about a mother's love. You know, we've heard the one where it says, you know, mothers, sometimes when it comes to their children, they end up exhibiting like some different levels of superpower strength. You know, I remember in psychology, many moons ago in sixth form, in psychology, we were looking into the study of like mothers and their relationship with their children, etc. And, you know, there was like stories of children that had been run over by cars or trapped under cars, and the mothers get this strength to like lift these cars and free their children because of love. You know, like people will literally, when someone loves you, they're prepared to go all the way for you. They're prepared to really go out on a limb, even die for you. And like, yeah, and I think, you know, a lot of us just need to understand that if that is the type of love we're looking for and the type of love we want to receive, we need to heal. We need to heal. We need to take some time, step back. If you don't want to go to therapy, fine. Get a notebook, open it up, write down your emotions, write down what you're feeling. You know, sometimes you can ask someone, oh, how do you feel? Or what are you feeling? I asked someone this one time and they said, oh, I don't know, like I don't feel anything. I'm not feeling anything. And I just sort of was like, you know, you're a human being, you're always feeling something. The difference is you've become so detached from yourself that it's difficult for you to decipher and understand what it is that you're feeling because you're so used to telling your brain to ignore that. It's now so important to like lock back into yourself and be like, okay, how do I feel? Even go back to, sometimes even just go back like mentally to certain situations and being like, this person did this and that. This was an act of betrayal. At the time, I felt nothing. But maybe that did something. Because, you know, sometimes in the heat of adrenaline, if you hurt yourself, you don't feel it. But like later, you're going to feel that. I remember when I was in like a really bad car accident. My car like rolled, crashed into a tree. It was crazy, but God got me. But yeah, like when I had my car accident, I remember once the car was like still, I remember just thinking, okay, I need to just get out, because I was thinking of all those American films where the car ends up exploding and all this dramatic stuff. So I was like, I just need to get out. Like, I was like, okay, checked like myself, because I was like, I understood that with the adrenaline, I'm probably not feeling things. And you know, sometimes people think they're fine and then there's like a bone sticking out of their leg or whatever. So I remember like checking myself and being like, okay, like, am I good? Like, and once I realized I was good, I remember I just went out. Like, I tried to go out driver's seat. I couldn't. I had to crawl over to the passenger seat and come out the passenger side door. And then, like, went to, like, flag down help on the roads, etc. It was, like, torrential downpour, etc. There was, like, a lot going on weather-wise. So, hence me having to try and flag down help so people could see me. But, yeah, like, it was only the next day when I realized the pain my body was in, that it was only the next day that it hit after the adrenaline had worn off. And sometimes this is what happens where we go through certain things, and maybe because we're so used to protecting ourselves, or because emotions, adrenaline, we don't feel it in that moment. But later on, if you see that you shut down when conversations get a bit too emotionally charged, if you see that you really lack trust, if if someone hasn't given you a reason to not trust them, why do you not trust them? If you see that you avoid allowing people past a certain point, like you can let people into a certain point and then it gets uncomfortable for you. These are all like little signs to just know, like, okay, I got issues that I need to deal with. That's if you want a healthy type of love. It's really, really important to heal, because once you heal, you can go forward on a clean slate. And like, it's what you're gonna pass on as well. This is the thing, because the same way hurt people are gonna advise from a hurt state of mind. So you can have someone that was in a relationship and their partner cheated, and now they're advising someone else that's currently got a new love interest, etc. If this person has not healed, they'll be very bitter about the concept of love and relationships and loyalties, right? Oh, well, someone could say, like, someone could tell you that they love you, but it doesn't mean anything, because they went through that. That's their reality. Is people aren't loyal. People don't stick to their word. But if you deal with someone that has been cheated on, healed, and then is now giving advice, they can give a pre-warning of, there are cases where this and that can happen. However, there's then the caveat of however. It then makes these things learning lessons. That's what they become. They're no longer scars and wounds and triggers, but they're life lessons that you can now tap into when navigating through life or advising others. But if you don't heal, if you don't take the time to test out therapy, you don't take the time to pray. That's another thing. Praying. I prayed, I cried, and I asked God to heal me. I said, Lord, clearly I'm not okay. I don't know why I'm not okay, but I'm not okay, and I need you to heal me. Over time and through a lot of self-reflection and time in prayer and things like that, God reveals certain things, and you start to, like, all these things start to come back, and you realize when this and that happened, this actually massively affected me. This changed my whole perspective on life and my view on this and my view on that. You start to get these revelations and reminders of all the things that you've been through. So I highly recommend, make some time, get a notebook, turn off distractions, do some self-reflection and self-evaluation. Try and do it frequently. And as you allow yourself to heal, you will be able to receive a healthy type of love as well. And once you have healed, you will not be hurting others, because you're not coming from a place of pain. When you're in pain, it's easy to lash out, like we were saying, like the woman in labor or whatever. Like, it's like, ugh. But once the pain has subsided, you're not going to be hurting people. You're not going to be lashing out. You're not going to be, it's different how you approach things. It's different how you approach life and love. But yeah, that was just a quick topic for today, was hurt people. So it's time for you to heal. Make time to find your healing. Try therapy. Try prayer. Try God first. Try God always. Therapy, prayer, quiet time. Go for walks, quiet walks, and just see the difference that it brings to your life. But this was a super heavy topic. Sorry, guys. But I hope you're feeling informed, encouraged, and we'll be back again next week. Bye.